Write this down. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. A number of our sellers are wanna-sells, not have-to-sells, right?
Yes.
Yes.
They say, I'll sell, but I want to get this price, and if I don't get this price on Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then I'm not going to sell my house, okay? I'm exaggerating, but not by much. So what we need to find are the have-to-sells. What is a have-to-sell? What's a have-to-sell?
Relocating.
Relocating,
Divorce.
divorce, relocating because they are relocating. Okay, sorry, financial, okay.
Outgrown.
Jack? Life-changing event, outgrown,
Downsizing.
downsizing, outgrown, big grown,
Death.
Death, yeah.
death, of course. Okay. One of the areas, and we talk about this all the time, or there's actually 2 areas. There's people are getting older, and we're living in, I'm including myself, we are getting older. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely am moving in that direction. Thank God, because the alternative isn't good. There's a lot of our population. Now remember that the baby boomers, which I fit into, are in the, well, those were the people that were from the 48 to probably 58, that 10-year period, 1958. So it's one of the largest segments of the population. There's a lot of those people. Now, that's a large group of people who are getting into the late 50s, early 60s, and 70s, and they're affluent. A lot of cases, their homes are paid for in a lot of cases, but they're living in 2-story properties, and they're getting older. And look, I take care of myself, I walk all the time, blah, 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 I try to work out, I try to watch what I eat, and my knees are driving me nuts. Okay? It just is what it is. So I live in a 2-story house, so, you know, we looked at the house, and we have no intentions of moving or selling the house, but we did look at putting an elevator into the property. And you can put an elevator in. While it's expensive, it's not crazy. It's not it's totally nuts. But we can do that. Maybe somebody else isn't able to do that. So what do? They need to what? Sell their home. So every 2-story home that has a baby boomer in it, so anyone that bought their house, let's say they bought their house 25, 30 years ago, which would put them in the 35, 40 range, age-wise. In most cases, certainly in 70% of the cases, those houses are close to or paid for already. So there's a good amount of equity. They can move and do something. Now they're probably going to downsize or move into a 1-story home, the more desirable home, maybe in the same area, desirable to them, because it's 1-story. But that's a have to move, because at some point, they have to move. Identify those properties and stay with them. That's one, okay? So those are turning faster than the average 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home. That's number one. Number 2 is 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos, or less. It could be 1-bedroom, 2-bath. It could be 2-bedroom, 1-bath. But those are condos. Those are properties that have been bought in multiple different price ranges and all over the city. Those are properties that were bought by usually younger couples or younger single person, and they ended up getting married, and then they have a child, and then they'll have a second child. And that period is somewhere between 5 and 8 years is the time period. Well, the typical property, single-family residence today, in most neighborhoods, isn't turning for 15 to 25 years. Okay? 15 to 25 years. That's how long people are holding on to property today. When I started in the business, it was 7 years. Every 7 or 8 years, property would turn, and we'd make a living. It was nice. Okay? Not so much today. But condos, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos, are moving in the 5 to 8 year range. So they're turning more often. And it's my opinion that 50% of those you could possibly double end. I know the price point's slightly lower than what we like in most cases, but you can double end that transaction 40 to 50% of the time, and at least 50 to 70% of those people are going to want to move into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 4-bedroom kind of home. You guys with me on this?
Yeah.
So it actually has a potential of 3 transactions instead of just the typical 1 transaction or maybe 1.5. You guys with me?
Yes.
That's another have to, because let me tell you, you put 2 babies in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, bless you, this is not good. It's not a good thing. You don't want to do it for too long. You want to try to find a place to move. If nothing else, go to a 3 or 4-bedroom condo, but definitely want to try and make a move. That's what we should be working on. And the agents who have been working on that over the last couple years that we've been talking about it are doing surprisingly really well with it. And those of you that are not, and you're fighting me on this, stop fighting me. Okay? Stop. In fact, I have a request. Stop fighting me on anything. Okay? Really? Really? Okay? The people who are doing most of what I ask them to do most of the time are making a bloody fortune.
Yep.
Okay? A fortune. And the ones that aren't. Stop fighting me. Okay? We'll go on to the next subject. Because nobody's going to listen to that one. Okay. We had about 8 or 10 people last week at the Mike Ferry event. And I go, as you know, to as many of those as I possibly can. Now, part of it is to meet people and to encourage them to join the organization, because we really are a quote-unquote Mike Ferry-ish kind of an office, kind of going in the same direction. And as we start to unfold, a lot of the work that Eric's done over the last week or two in terms of numbers and statistics, I've always felt we outperformed the market in many different areas, but I could never really quantify it because I didn't have anybody that sliced and diced things that way. It's amazing. In the first 2 months, true story, first 2 months, our company, of the people who produce, who have done any transactions, which is significant because we're outperforming the market by 16% in that area alone. In per person production, on the listing side, we're outperforming the market by 52%. It's a number, the numbers are so high that they seem unreal. Okay, we could understand a 12% increase, and we can understand a 4% drop and things like that. But what you're doing, we are by 63% a listing office. 63% of all the transactions we do as an organization are listings closed. Not listings taken, not just listings taken, but listings closed. Our next competitors are at 50%. It drops from 63% to 50-50. And then a lot of people that you think are Mike Ferry offices and do all the things they're supposed to do and blah, 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 they're in the 40s. In the real numbers in the 40s. We're going to share that stuff with you over the next few weeks. I only bring it up to remind you that when you do most of what we're asking you to do most of the time, you outperform the marketplace. And that's all we can ever want to really do. What's the market doing, and are we beating it? And if we're beating it, we're ahead of the game. If we're not beating the market, then we're falling behind the market. Where would you rather be? Yeah. And hitting your goals and doing the thing. Do you know that we have agents in this company that right now have closed and pending 14 transactions. The Myatts are at 19 transactions. Melinda's at, I don't know, 20 transactions. Nancy Dupree's at probably 14, 18 transactions. And closed and pending already. 2.5 months. 2.5 months. We have people that are doing 30, 40, 50% better this year than last year. Make the phone calls. Talk to the people. 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Focus in on it. We had an opportunity to go to the event. Mike's doing another event here in a couple weeks, but I wrote down some things that I think, well, just got a couple of minutes to cruise through them, that I learned at this event that were a little bit, that hit me, and we need to work on. You guys interested or no?
Yes.
Because I can do something else. So I wrote down here, one of the things that Tony hammered us on was, what are 4 or 5 things that separate you from your competition? What are the 4 or 5 things that you can do, that will separate you from your competition? Can you delineate them in a non-ego, question-based way? Okay? Can you, A, identify them, B, can you put them into action in a non-ego-based, question-asking kind of way? Like, my homes sell faster. Do you know if your homes sell faster or not? No. Okay, my homes sell for more money. And some of you do know that, but most of you don't. It's not hard to find out. You can go in, but you need to learn. If you don't know, ask. But have the curiosity to be interested. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is selling your home, is it a priority to sell it faster or slower than the market? Faster. Is it a priority to sell it for more money than the average person of the market, or less than the person of the market? No, more. Well, that's exactly what I do. Let me show you what we do different. Okay? Pretty powerful presentation, right?
Yep.
Pretty informational. Okay? I wrote down here, if you're a single agent, how do you define yourself to be better than competing against a team? You put me against, I'll compete against Marty Rodriguez in a heartbeat. Marty Rodriguez has got 17 people and she produces at this level. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you really want to work with an organization that is so big and non-responsive isn't the word. I have to work on the script a little bit, but it's. Do you really want to work with an organization when you pick up the phone, you can get in touch with the managing broker or the person who does that work for you? Do you really want to do that? Okay. Nobody gets in touch with Marty. Nobody. You can't get. Okay. But me, you can get in touch with me. Let me ask you a question. Huh?
No.
Oh, you were pointing at me like I was doing something wrong. So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, let me ask you a question. If Marty sells a house, Marty sells your house, and it doesn't close, there's a really good chance that Marty and her team are still going to be okay. They have a nice reputation, and they're going to be fine. That makes sense? Yeah. If I don't sell your house, I'm in really big trouble. Okay? I have to sell your house. Who do you want working for you? Me, who's totally focused on getting your home sold for the highest price possible in the shortest period of time with the least amount of aggravation, or a large team who is kind of impersonal and you're not sure who you're going to get on the phone. Does this make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Sure.
So you can go the other way too. You can sell the big team. Okay? But what are you doing to make that presentation? Get it? What's your point of difference? How about this one? I study the statistics in each market and that helps my client make informed decisions. Really? Like what? How about time on the market? Do you know how long it takes for a home to sell in your marketplace? Do you know how much the price per square foot is in the marketplace? And what's the difference between the price per square foot on a pool home and on a non-pool home? Did you know that? How about a view home versus a non-view home? How about price range? How about 300 to 800,000, 800 to a million, $1 million to $1.2 million, and over 2 million. Do you know the differences and the time on market? By the way, there's a huge difference in time on market right now between a $2 million house and a $600,000 house. But you have to know that. And you have to be able to articulate it. So would that be important?
Yes.
So that was some of the stuff that Tony was sharing that we have to help work on to make ourselves different. By the way, in the room of about 250 real estate agents, some big, some small, some big producers, some little producers, I don't think there was 5 people that knew the statistics. So you don't have a lot of competition. All you got to do is spend a couple hours a week looking at the numbers and figuring it out. By the way, I believe your front page of your MLS has a lot of these stats, and you can isolate different things out there. Take the time to figure it out so when you get into a listing presentation and you can make yourself sound different and more knowledgeable than your competitor. Okay? I wrote down here personal power. Personal power. So, I don't know, I've been going to Mike Ferry for, what I tell you, 44 years or something. I hear personal power all the time. I have heard personal power more in the last 2 years than I have in the past. But the understanding, and that really is one of the differences between agents that do and agents that don't, is their personal power. Some of that comes from, you've heard me say this before, knowledge equals power. So if you door knock, you phone canvas, you preview property, you know the scripts and dialogues at a really high level, you've got some personal power, right? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, so he suggested, smart man, he suggested one of the areas where we fall down in demonstrating our personal power is when we walk into the listing. Now, we practice this where we say, so the script goes, "Hi, thanks for having me over. I'm excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a look at your house?" Okay? We practice that, right? Say yes.
Yes.
Tony says, and this is what we will start practicing, we're going to do it in a videotape. Tony says when you open the door and you walk in, that 30, 40 seconds could be the difference between you're going to get the listing and you're not going to get the listing. Because some of us walk in, and hi, how you doing? Everything, wow, what a really nice house. This is really cool. Or they walk in and they say, "Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm really excited about coming out tonight and taking a look at your house." And part of it started out by the car. And part of it started because you were 15 minutes early rather than walking in, "I'm so sorry I'm late. What a great way to start a presentation. I am so sorry. The traffic was horrible." No kidding. Los Angeles, traffic was horrible. What an idea, okay? In LA, the traffic is always what? Horrible. We check Waze at 11 o'clock at night to see if it makes sense for us to try and get home. Because on a Saturday night, we don't go out late, generally speaking. But have you ever been out on a Saturday night and on the Santa Monica Freeway trying to get someplace? It's crazy. It's crazy. So you need to, how am I going to get home? So Los Angeles, by definition, you're going to be late unless you started out way early. Okay? So that's just one of the things. But you're walking in the door. Hi, thanks for having me over. I'm really excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look around the house? Now you can do that with that power, with a big goofy smile on your face, and have previewed property and know that your presentation is powerful, or you can walk in and be giggling and be late. Who's going to get the listing? The one that's early, the one that's practiced, the one that looks professional, the one that has their package together, the one that has a smile on their face, the one that's practiced some of the objections, the one that's previewed the property. And right now the market, I told you this before, the market is down first 2 months. Well, last year it was down 4% for the year. Remember we talked about that for the whole year? First 2 months is down 4% more. So, from this time last year, if you look at the numbers, if it's down 4% and the year before it was down 4%, so from 2016, in January, February 2016, it's down 8%. And you wonder why it's harder to get a listing. The market's down, number of transactions, 8% from 2016. And the number of agents is higher or lower? Higher. There are more agents. There just are. So you have to get a little bit better. Not dramatically better. If you're, what did I say? 250 people sitting in that room. 4 or 5 knew the statistics. All you have to do is know some statistics and you beat 245 people. We'll do that a few times, and you're going to end up with a couple more listings. You get it?
Yeah.
We're not looking for all the listings. We don't need all the listings. But if each of you take 1 or 2 more listings a month, it changes your lifestyle immediately. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, you guys with me on this stuff?
Yes.
So that's some of the stuff that we picked up from that event. We talked about personal habits. Personal habits are keeping us from achieving our goals. Personal habits are keeping us from achieving our goals. So I'm going to read these real quick because I think they're important. I want you to think about them, take note on them, and then let's work on this other stuff for the rest of the day. The first thought he wrote down here was constantly doubting yourself. You guys constantly doubt yourselves. You constantly doubt yourself. Stop it. You're right now, you're 50% better than your competition on average for listing agents. 50% better. Get it? Okay. So you're not perfect in every area, but you're better. That's all we need to be. Better gets me another listing over here. Better gets me another listing over here. Better gets me another listing over here. 3 listings, $30,000. Ka-ching, I win. Okay? That's the difference. We don't need all of them. We just need some more. Get it?
Yes.
See the difference there?
Yep.
Okay, we get in our head we need all. I'm saying let's just get some more. 1 more, 2 more, whatever your sum is. Something more. The second thing I wrote down here, so lack of personal self-development breeds self-doubt. Lack of personal self-development breeds self-doubt. What are you doing daily in self-development? What are you reading? Affirmations are good, but sometimes we need a little bit more. Sometimes, we get up, a lot of us will exercise. A lot of us will exercise, and some of you, not me, do a really great job of that, okay? Really great job of it. But what are you doing for this? We talk about YouTube all the time. I have to tell you, every morning I'm probably pouring in 35 to 60 minutes worth of YouTube, whether it be Mike Ferry, whether it be Brian Tracy, whether it be something spiritual, whether it be Jeb Blunt in sales training, something that really pours it in and gives you an extra thing. So today, was very interesting. So today I'm listening to Brian Tracy, really good stuff, really good stuff. And Brian just been hitting home for me lately. All the stuff I learned with Mike Ferry, you know, Brian Tracy says in a little different way, and it brings it home. But he came up with a name. There was a name called Nathaniel Benton. Benton or Bendon. So he's like the guru of self-esteem. I never heard this guy's name. I didn't know anything about it. But Tracy made a comment to a name. I took the name, Googled it, and in 1969, this Nathaniel guy wrote the definitive book on self-esteem, which is what the problem is with most of us on a daily basis. We have little or no self-esteem as to what we're doing. And look, I just read 2 pages. I don't have the answers, okay? But it was interesting stuff coming to it from a completely different perspective, and that's my personal self-development. Do you guys get this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay? If you're not doing something, and then you're not curious, remember, I only heard the name in a split second for the first time in my whole life, okay? And I actually stopped the tape, went backwards, I said, there's something here I need to check out. And he said it again, and boom, I typed in Google this thing from Nathaniel in YouTube. And there's like pages after pages after pages of information, and his book is on audio. The whole book. I don't even have to go buy the book. I don't even have to read it. I can listen to it. Isn't that great?
Neil, what's the name of the person?
I'll give it to you later. Nathaniel something. Benton or Benton. So, I wrote down here, another personal habit that keeps us from achieving our goals are continuous negative thinking. Are you a pessimist or are you an optimist? Do you think it's going to happen in a good way, or do you think it's not? Okay? Most of us go negative before we go positive, right? Stop it. Stop it. We're killing ourselves. So I was listening to a TED Talk on this subject about negativism. It was a 10-minute tape. It was really interesting because they're never an exact amount. This was 10 minutes. It's stuck in my head. So the lady is a phenomenal woman presenting on this subject and talking about it. And she was talking about the difference between negative people and positive people, and how we have to work on that on a constant basis, because we go negative way faster than we go positive, what she's talking about. So she really came up with a very interesting thing. So her husband, she'll come home from work and she'll be negative. Not that she means to be, but she'll say, this didn't work, this was a long day, I can't believe I had all these kids were asking she's a professor. So all these kids were asking these questions and stuff like that. And he's learned from her help to ask a question. So let me ask you something. I hear all these negative things that happen, but was there anything that happened that was positive? Anything that was happening that was positive? So if we could start asking ourselves that question as we're going down this other thing, either personally or collectively, she stops in her tracks, she says, and she starts answering him. All the positive things happen in the day, and her attitude changes in a moment. Because she's thinking of the positive, not the... You get this?
Yeah.
Fascinating. If anybody wants, I'll forward that to you. I wrote down here, the fear of failure is 80% of what you're afraid of, and most of that doesn't happen. And then the last thought was people who always criticize. People who always criticize people that do more than you do. Okay, but we do, okay? Oh, they did more. Oh, they she did this, or he did that, or his parents were this, or his parents were that, or or they're better at this, or they're prettier, or they're handsome, or the guy's taller, or the guy's shorter, or whatever, okay? We all have that stuff that we put in our head. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. The opportunities that are out there right now are phenomenal. The opportunities out there are spectacular. Be focused on what you can do to get to the next level. Stay focused, be consistent, and then watch what happens. And make this your best week ever. Thank you very much.